Tammy Lee. So Tammy Lee is known for her exemplary work in the Watts family murder case. From the early age of 14, Tammy wanted to be in the law enforcement profession. After getting inspired by the movie Silence of the Lambs, she joined the Colorado Bureau of Investigation and completed a 10-week polygraph certification in 2013, where she finished at the top of her class. When Tammy was first assigned to the Watts family murder case, she began studying the victims. That was when she developed a connection with Shanann and her kids, which made her determined to see the case till the very end. And so Tammy Lee is also the one that gave the polygraph test. Oh no. The polygraph test. And I think she outsmarted Chris just because, like, a rock could have outsmarted Chris. So I'm not saying she did a great job, but she did outsmart him, in my opinion. Do you think she outsmarted him, Robert?
I don't think Chris Watts had a plan, really, whenever he started, talking to the police and the reporters and everything. He was just trying to gain as much sympathy, and he hadn't really thought it all through. So, in some ways, he's not very smart. So, yes, she lured him in and outsmarted him.
But I mean, she probably could. Well, anyway, a rock could have lured him in my opinion. I just think that he's just such a, I don't know. And with her chicks are crazy thing too. I mean, I have seen her say that she regrets feeding Chris that scenario that Shanann was the one that unalived the kids just to get them to confess.
That's something that everybody says. I mean, it might not be like a nice thing to say, but guys say it to other guys all the time, especially, after something crazy happens with a female,
Yeah. Well, also too, I think investigators, they lie to you all the time. That's why, I mean, I don't I don't think I would go into, after knowing what I know, to any interrogation without a lawyer, right? Because they can just twist it around and yeah.
Well, there is a reason that you can remain silent until your lawyer arrives. They don't
Right?
have to tell you the truth, but you have to tell them the truth, and they'll do anything they can to get you to say what they want to hear.
Right? Yeah, and it worked. It definitely worked. So Agent Tammy Lee played Chris masterfully. Once she confronted him with the fact that he had failed the lie detector test, she offered him a way to maintain the image that she had deduced was so important to him. She asked him if Shanann had done something to the girls. She told him that tricks are crazy. I want to get a mug or something, or I mean, it's just so being a, like, not like a strict feminist or anything, but just like, it's just so like condescending to me that chicks are crazy, and that this was, how she got Chris Watts to confess. Chicks are crazy, man. Agent Lee wasn't malingering or attacking Shanann. She knew that Chris had killed all three of his family members, but she also knew that he wasn't going to confess outright. So she reeled him in like the big stupid fish that he is. Chris first tried to suggest that his failure of the polygraph was due to him lying about having an affair. Law enforcement brushed this admission aside. No question. Oh, no, we're not going to do this today. He likes to tease the dog. No question on the polygraph had involved an extramarital affair, and unaliving a-hole. They already knew about his affair with Kessinger. So once backed into the corner, Chris admitted that he had unalived Shanann, but claimed that she had unalived Bella and Cece in a fit of rage after he had told her about his affair. Agent Lee knew he was lying, but pressed on, trying to get him to reveal the location of the bodies, which he did. So at 11 p.m., Shanann's body was unearthed at Survey 319, an Anadarko oil well site where Chris had volunteered to work in the hours after his family's disappearance. At 11:02 p.m., Watts was handcuffed and booked into custody. The next day, Thursday, August 16th, 2018, the bodies of Bella and Cece Watts were recovered from inside the oil tanks. 2 days after the recovery of the bodies of the girls, Agent Tammy Lee was at a hair salon with her own mom and sister, trying to distract herself for a moment. She broke down crying and couldn't stop. She said, "I felt like I knew them. I've been to many homicides of children. This one was different. I felt like I knew what they sounded like. I knew what they looked like when they played and how they sounded when they giggled. I felt like I was mourning their deaths." And right there, I think Tammy Lee says what many of us feel when we talk about the case, because there was so much footage on the internet. Are you going to want to go into the other room, or do you want to go in your cage? Because this isn't working. What do you want to do, Junie? They tell me to leave you alone. Leave Junie alone. We'll try it one more time. I feel like we've all felt like we knew them because of all the footage. Do you feel familiar with them because of the footage, Robert?
Yeah. You know, when I think about this, everything that happened with Chris Watts and his family, I have to kind of like somehow like turn off my brain sometimes so that it doesn't like hit me so hard, because I have kids of my own and I just can't imagine what those children went through, with their father right before they died.
Yes, especially poor Bella. I think Bella had the worst of it. I think Cece had brain damage, I think, from the first attempt. And so I don't think she was quite with it, because he never talks about Cece as much as he talks about Bella.
Yeah, it's I can't imagine what would go through a person's mind. I've been angry at my kids, and then whenever, you get angry, there's like a line you just don't cross.
Mm-hmm.
And this man crossed it, with a vengeance. And he
I
didn't
think
stop.
that's how all fathers are, right? Not all fathers, but the good fathers would say what you're saying, right? There's a line you don't do, you walk away from your kids. If you're angry, you don't blame the mother for the kids, right? Or the kids for the mother, right?
Like they're kids. They're not
Yeah.
gonna be perfect. They're children. They're learning how to be people.
And he's supposed to be teaching them how to be people.
Yep.
That's why I think it's so like kind of wrong when you hit kids, because like, would you hit an adult that was learning something new? No.
Maybe.
So why would but you don't.
Right.
But you don't. And so why would
Mm.
you hit a child? I don't know. But anyway, Tabby Cat, hello. Thank you so much for the $2 sticker. She is one of our biggest supporters with the stickers. And thank you so much. Hi. How are you feeling? Are you feeling better? I know that you said that you weren't feeling good for a while because we missed you. I hope you're doing better. I have the best. I can't wait till you start doing lives. Oh, we didn't even try to go live on your channel. I keep forgetting to do that. That's why I made you a mod or whatever.
Yeah, I didn't know how to do it either, so it's okay.
Well, shoot. Okay. Next time I'll remember, maybe. Oh, you have autoimmunes too, don't you? I have autoimmunes. I think you do too. Those are nasty when they flare up. So this was Tammy Lee when she successfully completed her 10-week polygraph certificate. This was on the Colorado Bureau of Investigation. Oh, guys, I keep forgetting. Be sure to give this live a thumbs up. It helps us out tremendously. It's just a free way to help me out. And I always forget to say that, or I say it too much. I don't say it enough, and then the next one I say, remember to say it, Amy, and then I don't say it, and then I say it too much. But I can beat myself up for days. This is Tammy Lee after her 10-week polygraph thing that she got in Texas. I thought it was interesting. She likes this necklace, this green necklace. I have seen quite a few pictures of her in this necklace. Maybe it's her lucky necklace or something. Oops, I didn't mean to do that. And then I thought this was interesting too. She's over here on X. Not very much, just some CBI stuff, and that's it. And she talks about how she's cried more for them than he has. The investigator opens up about the Chris Watts case. Like I was saying, she has done a few interviews, and she's done a conference on the case. The Colorado Bureau of Investigation agent Tammy Lee grew attached to the victims of the Chris Watts case, so much so that she feels she cried more for the slain children than their own father. Watts became one of the most infamous family murderers in American history after he confessed last year to killing his pregnant wife, Shanann Watts, and his two young daughters, Bella. I didn't mean to say that K word either. And Celeste 3. I hope we don't get demonetized. Prosecutors said he killed his family to start a new life with co-worker Nicole Kessinger, with whom he was having an affair. So she has said things like, I cried more than he has. She can relate to Shanann because she is also an Italian. I guess Shanann was part Italian, part Polish. And she says, I can kind of appreciate her attitude. I guess sometimes, Lee said on Criminal Confessions with a smile, I came from a long line of Italian women, so we're very strong, sassy, assertive, and that's how I pictured Shanann. Lee noted it was obvious that Shanann loved being a mom, that she loved being a wife, and she loved what she did for work. And many people begrudge her for it, but she really liked the Thrive. The LaBelle Thrive. As the case turned tragic with the discovery of the family's bodies, Lee's feelings towards the people at the heart of the case grew even deeper. Lee expressed disgust and internal outrage at Chris throughout the interrogation process, and she grew protective of Shanann when Chris wrongly claimed that she murdered her own children. Furthermore, she detested how Chris disposed of Shanann, who she was pregnant with Watts' unborn son, and the kids' bodies. Bella and Celeste were shoved into oil tanks while Shanann was buried into a shallow grave nearby. I just couldn't believe a father could do something so horrible to his children and to his wife, she admitted. I was completely disgusted. I felt sick. While Lee was affected by the initial grim findings, it was when she conducted the final interview with him in February, along with FBI Special Agent Graham Coder and lead detective for Frederick Police Dave Baumhover, that she really felt the gravity of how the case affected her. And so I thought we would look at some of the polygraph. And if people are interested in this topic, we can do like a part 2 and 3 and 4 and whatever, and watch the other things. Today, I thought we would watch a bit of the polygraph. And I also have an interview that she did. Like she went back to even after Chris was sentenced, they went to Wisconsin and interviewed him. And she has done other interviews of people in the case. And apparently she interviewed one of Chris's cellmates. And I have that interview. And I thought that would be interesting to listen to as well. Oh, lupus. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry, Tabby. Oops, I didn't mean to put that up there either. I'm sorry. Ugh. What do you think? Does that sound like a good plan, Robert?
Yeah.
Okay, so here's the polygraph.
Discussion was that the first sort of plan was to do a polygraph.
And as always, I never read everything in its fullness, and we never watch everything in the entirety. And I put the links to everything we watch and view down in the description so that you can go and watch it yourself. This is for fair use, fair play. I can't show it all. And also be nice, you. Also, these are all our Robert and I's opinion. This is for educational purposes only. So we encourage you to do your own research.
Off that evening, and probably a very good thing that they didn't do the polygraph, just because they probably would have rushed it, and they also didn't have all the information at their fingertips then that they would have the next morning. So fortunately, they decided to do the polygraph the next day. But just think about that as well. That's also a gamble. Watts has agreed to do the polygraph. You send him home. Well, he could just as well come back and say, well, no, I'm not going to do the polygraph. And that's another aspect with Watts that's kind of weird is, he goes home, has a chance to think about it, and then comes back and does it anyway. I think
exactly. What an idiot. What an idiot. And I'm shocked that nobody thought to tell Chris to get a lawyer. We already talked about this, but Ronnie his father, Ronnie, didn't even say, hey, son, maybe we should get a lawyer.
I think it was because he was determined to say he was innocent, and he didn't want to look guilty, probably. So
probably that's a good point.
Not to get a lawyer, because at least in the movies, anytime somebody gets a lawyer, it's like, oh, you must be guilty.
Yeah.
So
I'll be like, sit there and think I'm guilty. You already think I'm guilty, so I'm getting a lawyer, right? I don't know. And you always look at the significant other in these kind of situations, right? Or they say they do.
How long was it before they did this polygraph after he was on the news, asking people to help him find his family? Was it
the next day? The next day.
Yeah, so
help me out in the chat, you guys, but I believe it was the next day. Let me think. Because that day, because he wore that same shirt 2 days in a row. So it was the next day. Why?
It just makes, more sense that he's still trying to portray himself as innocent. And that's why he hasn't gotten a lawyer.
Yeah, I think you're probably right. He would think that, nobody had a clue at that point that he was guilty. But once he got up on the porch, everybody knew he was guilty. Mm-hmm. That's the worst. One of the worst interviews of pleas for maybe as bad as Susan Smith's. Please come home with my babies, my babies. Is Susan Smith the one that put her babies into the water?
Oh my God.
Am I saying the right person?
I don't remember the name. I think I remember who you're talking about, but I don't remember their actual name.
I think her name's Susan Smith. They say she's a real player in prison too. She plays the girls and the boys. Anyway.
One possible reason why he did was he may have gone home and told the Thayers about it, and the Thayers said, you should absolutely do a polygraph because you've got nothing to hide. You know, you didn't do anything, so the polygraph will then show that they've got nothing on you. And so Watts is probably thinking, you know, if I do this test, it can sort of get me off the hook. All I've got to do is pass this test, and then I will be off the hook. Now, ultimately, and this is what they say sort of at the end of the segment, is that Watts didn't only fail the polygraph, but he failed it spectacularly. He got like a minus 18 score, where a plus 2 is being truthful. And they basically said, law enforcement said, as soon as they saw that, they sort of felt like they had their man. So Watts basically shot himself in the foot more than in any other way by taking the polygraph test. I mean, besides committing the crime. So what's interesting is when Chris Watts left for the evening, left the police station, went to the Thayers, one can imagine him sleeping perhaps.
Hey, Robert, I forgot to ask, how long do you have tonight?
Probably an hour. I don't know, how long do your lives usually go?
I usually go about an hour. Sometimes I go a little bit over, but I don't know if I need to be mindful or not. So I forgot to ask.
No, I'm not. I don't have any other plans this afternoon.
Okay.
Or resting or being.
But it's only 2:30 here.
Oh, that's right. You guys, do you mind if they know where you're located?
That's fine.
He lives in Alaska, so it's always pretty exciting when you talk. I have a friend that's from Michigan. I'm from Michigan, that lives in Alaska. So it's always, people are always like, when you say that you're from Alaska, I notice people say, "Oh, wow, really?" Because it's one of those bucket list places that many people want to visit.
Drifting in and out of sleep, but a whole army of people were mobilizing, and they weren't sleeping. They were going through his home, top to bottom, the upstairs bedrooms, the main level, the basement. At the same time, they were going through his browser history of his computer and also his phone. And what Agent Tammy Lee says, and this is around about 26 minutes, she says what they learned from that analysis, and I think she's referring to the digital analysis, because it is mentioned a couple of times in this documentary that they found no evidence in the home. I mean, they found no really compelling forensic evidence. I would dispute that a little bit and say, well, you know, the sheets in the trash and what is on them certainly, I think, qualifies as evidence, and certainly somewhat sinister evidence. But I think what they're really getting at is the significant evidence was of a digital nature. And so while Chris was sleeping, they were getting this information. Now,
isn't that something? While Chris was sleeping, everybody was up looking and trying to find the kids while Chris was sleeping and talking to his girlfriend. Yeah, that neither can remember that 111-minute conversation.
I think that by itself makes him look guilty without a lie detector test. You know.
Yeah, and that makes me like not be able to rule out Kessinger. You know, I'm like at like 99% sure she didn't do it, but then there's these like red flags that it's like, what the heck? Like the pinging and this conversation that you don't remember, and the deleting of all the evidence, you know, and like I don't know. If somebody was missing, as much as I wouldn't want everyone to, like, if my phone could help find those people, as much as I don't want, you know, the world to see what's on my phone, I would hand it over in its entirety. You know, would you?
Yeah. Well, the thing, you know, I also kind of suspect Kessinger had something to do with it. And for me, the big thing was, you know, why were the children, you know, carried up those stairs and dumped into the oil tanker, and then the wife was buried in a shallow grave? You know, it kind of suggests to me that maybe it wasn't Chris who carried them up there, because he looks like a pretty big guy. And he should have been able to carry the wife up there too. And
yeah. But he also didn't have he had very little time to do everything that he supposedly did. I would love to like go over that timeline someday, but yeah, I mean the oil site is just such a, I don't know how to say how I feel about it. I haven't really dug too deep into it because I feel like that's the site that a lot of bad stuff went down, and it just, I don't know.
Yeah, it makes sense that he took him there since he worked there, but it doesn't make sense how he, put the wife in a shallow grave. That doesn't make sense to me.
And that NK made him promise that he went to that oil site that day. That's weird too. But yeah. Okay, so going on, let's watch a little bit of the interrogation. This is just 24 minutes of it. It's like the meat and potatoes of it.
I'm going to find them, right? I need your help. When we find the guy who took him, what do you think we should do?
This is what is known as a behavior-provoking question. An innocent person will usually give what is known as a draconian response. They will immediately respond with the harshest sentence possible for the crime they are falsely being accused of committing. A deceptive individual will often give an equivocating response. This means that they will fragmentize and divert from the question to a certain degree, as a means to avoid responding to the query in its entirety.
You're going to come home safe, correct? When you find the guy. When we find the guy, you're going to come home. Life in prison would be that's what I would think. But
I gotta slow it back down because Chris is one of those people that I can't understand very well. He's kind of like his words run into each other, maybe like a mumbler type person, but I have a hard time understanding him, and his dad too. His dad's worse than he is.
What if he hurt them? I'm not sure if that penalty is even used. Is it used in?
They will ask people that often to get their response. They say most people would be like, throw the book at them, the worst that's possible. But if you're guilty, they'll say I don't know, tell them no, hit them on the hand. I don't know. Have you heard that?
I haven't, not exactly, but I am familiar with these interrogation techniques and how they're used, and what they're looking for when in these responses. Because this guy has just murdered somebody. He hasn't admitted it, but he can't block out those memories no matter what he tries to do. I mean, he might be able to put it aside and pretend to be normal, most of the time, but when these people put those images of some of their children being hurt, it immediately goes to what he did, and that's why he's stumbling around on his words, and he doesn't know what to say because he's trying to, bury that so he can pretend to be normal again.
Mm-hmm. Oh. That's a good point that they're trying to evoke the emotions, because if the person hadn't done it, all that wouldn't have popped up into their head. They would just be like a blank of where are they type deal. That's a good point.
Colorado, I'm not even sure what is the death penalty. Okay. If these kids are not alive, there's nothing you could do to cope with that. To make me cope with that if those kids are not okay. Okay. Can we keep talking about some complicated?
We're going to fast forward it to Tammy Lee.
Too uncomfortable? No, that's fine. Okay. You've done it very good and down.
And also the way that he treated Chris, he was his dog or something. You've done a very good job, son.
Mhm.
A very good job, Chris.
Positive reinforcement goes a long way.
Yeah,
Even
I know.
in an interrogation. You
I
want
am.
to get them to relax and feel comfortable with you so that they'll say what they wouldn't normally say.
That's true. You know, I was watching the Sarah Boone interrogation, and somebody was saying, like, where they went wrong, the interrogator was at a certain point in it. She just couldn't even hide that she doesn't like her. Like, she couldn't hide that she doesn't like her. She just gave up trying to hide it. And she didn't really have to, because that one was a slam dunk.
Polygraph?
Sure.
I appreciate you coming in tonight.
Mhm.
All right, give me 2 minutes. This is Tammy. Did you meet Tammy yesterday?
No,
Okay, I always Tammy.
Hi, Grace. How are you?
So on this,
Yep, I know. I'll explain what that is here in a little bit, but you don't have to worry. It's not on or anything right now. It's not gonna buzz you or anything. Obviously, you're probably nervous about taking today's test. Honestly,
I also feel like I must say this. What an unfortunate sweater she wore that day. I bet she regrets wearing that. That happens to me. Like, my best lives are things that I just look so jacked up that why?
I don't see a problem with the sweater, to be honest. It looks like
You don't?
No, but I'm not into fashion that much, so. But it just looks like something
Whoops. Sorry. It just looks like what?
just like just a normal shirt that somebody would wear to work in a profession like this,
Yeah.
business casual.
Well, it's just, I guess, fashion wise, those stripes make you look larger than you actually are. And just as a feminine, maybe perspective, or no, I'm not going to even put that on us females, as people that anybody that's body conscious or even fashion, fashion forward, fashion wise, always trying to, get that right look. Because I think, like, I always say, like, the accessories, the shoes, stuff like that, that makes the outfit. So anyway.
if you weren't nervous about coming in here to take a polygraph, even if people are like, I don't have anything to hide, it is nerve-wracking. And I have taken tons of polygraphs. Obviously, in my training, I went to 10 weeks for training. I've been a polygrapher for about 5 years. I went to the best school in the country. So I want you to have confidence in the fact that if you had nothing to do with this disappearance, like, we're going to find that out today. Okay. I have the best training that they offer in the United States. We use the most validated testing. That's the way I'm going to ask you the questions. So believe me, if you had nothing to do with this, I will be able to show them that today.
This is psychological pressure disguised as reassurance. It's not a routine procedure during the pre-test phase of a polygraph exam, yet this technique will be used when the suspect's guilt is almost conclusive. Polygraphs are not a foolproof system, and they can be beaten. But with a heightened state of anxiety, it becomes considerably more challenging and unlikely. On this occasion, the polygrapher distinctly applies this technique for maximal effect.
There's actually only 2 ways you can fail a polygraph, okay? The first way would be if you fail to follow my instructions. I'm going to give you a lot of instructions today about how to sit still, how to answer questions, things like that. So if you fail to follow those instructions, you will not pass today's test, okay? The second way would be if you choose to lie to me today. If you did have something to do with their disappearance, it would be really stupid for you to come in and take a polygraph today. Exactly. Right? Like, it would be really dumb. Like, you should not be here right now sitting in this chair if you had anything to do with Shanann and the little girl's disappearance. Okay?
I think it's important to...
I'm sorry, what?
I think it's important to remember that there's no standardization for these polygraph tests. She said she took a 10-week course to do it, to learn how to do it, but they're all interpreted, and there's no actual, like, yes or no answer for any of these things. And that's why there's arguments against using polygraph tests. There's just a lack of scientific consensus on the reliability.
Yeah, and it almost seems like, and if you refuse to do it, then you look guilty. And if you fail it, obviously you look guilty, even though like maybe you were on some medication or you were super nervous or, you know.
I'm surprised he hadn't watched any movies that have polygraphs in there that always talk about, you know, how to cheat a polygraph test. I can think of at least one like movie that, you know, says, hey, you got to like clench your butt cheeks so that, you know, you can pass the polygraph test. That's a way to cheat it. And there's other ways. I mean, there's because all it does is check your heart rate and your blood pressure. And
Yeah,
I
I've
think
heard that people that take
if you listen to their question, but you answer a different question in your head before you answer the question, you know, you'll be less nervous about it and it won't trigger anything. But they're not very
surprised
accurate.
he didn't. I'm surprised he didn't like Google it or something. But
well, the thing is, she's also saying, you know, if you don't take this, you're going to look guilty, and he's trying to make himself look innocent, and he has been this whole time, and that's why he doesn't have a lawyer. Also, so she did manipulate him into taking this, but you know, he should have got a lawyer, and he might not be in jail if he'd got a lawyer.
Yeah,
you know,
who knows
he might
where
not have admitted anything. We might never know what really ever happened to them.
we would have probably gotten more answers at least if he had like, you know, hadn't admitted it right away like he did.
Flourished from there, like in 2011, I proposed to her over in Ocean Isle Beach. And as she was sitting there crying with a little picture notice, and she recorded it. It was an amazing day to see that. And then she left. I was there, like she had a midwife for this one. So like they actually had me like, oh, you can stand here and like, you know, catch her, and like, but Celeste came out like so fast that like I barely had a chance to go like this, and they moved me out of the way because she just like came out.
The polygrapher will also obtain the examinee's version of the facts regarding the specific issues under investigation.
I was just hoping that I would get that knock on the door.
Why would she be asking them stuff about like the births of the children just to get them relaxed?
Yeah, she wants him to talk, and I think that's what every interrogator wants. The more you talk, the more you're gonna keep talking, even if it's not about like anything specific that they want the answers to. They just want you to talk so that you'll keep talking. But what I'm wondering right now, she's laughing. You know, she's laughing and talking to him, joking around, but she's got to have this nagging feeling in her gut that this guy is a murderer. And, you know, she's also faking her outward appearance too, pretending to, you know, be comfortable in the same room with this guy.
Well, I mean, even when they went up to see him at Dodge, or where'd they go? At was it Dodge Correctional that they went? And they acted all casual and whatever there too. So they must be used to doing that.
Well, I think it's part of her job to keep that facade going. But, you know, I can kind of imagine what she's probably feeling underneath that. And she can't be that comfortable, you know, talking to him about this stuff.
Well, I'm an ex-social worker, and so yeah, you have to, like, you know, sitting there and talking to people about uncomfortable things and trying to make them think you're not judging them for it. It's I guess a bit of acting, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Although I think that's where I got really good at not judging people, just seeing people at their worst, just doing the best that they could, and, you know, just understanding that. It would have been better for so many if he had just had the courage to get a divorce.
Right. That's the big thing. That's like his big mistake. Why didn't he just do that? Like, what did he gain by nothing? He gained nothing.
Yeah. And I'm just shocked that he thought he was smart enough to pull that off. I think very few people are smart enough to pull off a schmurder.
I mean, her phone, they have her phone, like hopefully maybe it's a number I don't know. Hopefully it's like, you know, like a burner phone or some kind of like phone she bought, and she could just text me and call me like, hey, I'm okay. Something. Or just get a knock on the door and then the kids just run in. I miss like the kids like sitting at the dinner table and like having to tell them to eat their dinner, and like I miss them throwing their chicken nuggets at me. Like I just want to find them. I want them to come home safe, like wherever they are. I hope they are safe. And I really hope they can just come home. It makes me feel like, all right, maybe somebody has her that's not keeping her safe, or something terrible has happened. And that's the nightmare.
That's the nightmare, huh, Chris?
Somebody hurt them.
Chris recounts a brief summary of the events and states multiple vague possibilities for his family's disappearance. The polygrapher then starts to elect specific timelines for Chris to give his account on.
You said the next thing you know is her getting into bed with you. Is that right?
I felt her get into bed. We didn't say anything because I just kind of felt it.
Okay. Do you know if she was on her phone or like how any of that works?
I don't think she was on her phone.
Was she mad at all?
I mean, crying like she was, crying like I was. I mean, yeah, I mean, she was upset, but I mean, it comes with that kind of conversation.
In the next,
the weapon, like gun or knife. I mean,
okay.
You could.
You could smother someone. You could strangle someone.
Hang someone. I mean, yeah, you can. All that kind of things. I mean, it's hard to even think about that kind of stuff right now.
Mm-hmm. So you could strangle someone, you could drown someone.
Yeah.
You could shock someone to death. You could burn someone alive. What other ways?
And if Chris's family was truly missing, like, and he had nothing to do with it, these are horrible things to say to try to get somebody to think of what could be wrong with their, you know, how their family was harmed.
I think just based off what I'm seeing here, even if I didn't know the outcome, I would assume he's lying also, because just the way he's talking, and it's definitely odd. I know what I would feel like as a father if my kids were missing and I didn't know where they were. I would be like pacing and panicking, you know, and probably thinking the worst thing, not just, you know, casually talking about strangulation and, you know, burning people to death with somebody.
Yeah. Well, I feel like I would be like, what do you mean? How do you think that happened to them? I would be like, it would be just too much for me to even have that conversation.
I agree. I don't think I could have it either. I would be in panic mode right then when they start talking about that.
Like, do you know something that, you know, like, did something happen, you know, like that kind of.
Mm-hmm. But there's just something off about this interview and the way he's talking about everything. You know, didn't he like suspect that they just left at the beginning, like, you know, went to Shanann's parents' house or something? Like, I can't remember.
No, he said that they left on a play date on the first day of school. Like, instead of going to school, they went to a play date, but he didn't know where.
Right.
She said she was going on a play date, but she didn't say where.
Yeah, that doesn't make sense either, and that's probably why he's sitting in this room with the lie detector machine about to test him.
Yeah, with one way out of the house, and because like the back door you have to, you know, you can't lock it from the outside. So with one way out of the house, it's weird.
As far as like lure him into a trap, I guess.
What do you mean? You're gonna know which questions these are, and they're gonna be easy to answer. They're all gonna start
So,
with before
Now she's
2018.
going to get into the questions.
The directed lie test has 3 types of questions. Known truth questions. These are easy questions to answer, such as, are you sitting down? Or are you wearing shoes? They serve 2 purposes. The first purpose is to provide a baseline reading for when the subject is telling the truth, and should elicit very little bodily responses. The second purpose is to disconnect the examinee's thought patterns between each question as a means for resetting their cerebration for a more accurate reading. Control questions. These are what the polygrapher just explained to Chris. Whenever she says, before 2018, at the start of a question, Chris will know he is purposely supposed to lie. Each of these questions are deliberately constructed that all answers will be responded with no. Relevant questions. These relate specifically to the crime being investigated, and the examinee will know that they are supposed to respond truthfully. A guilty subject will show a much stronger reaction to the relevant questions than to the control questions, even though they will be lying on both of them. This is due to the immediate threat posed by the relevant questions.
So I'm gonna say before 2018, did you ever lose your temper with someone you cared about? And you're gonna say,
No.
because you're telling a
Lie.
awesome. The test is about to begin. Please remain still. Did you write the number 1?
No.
Did you write the number 3?
No.
Did you write the number 5?
No.
This portion of the test is complete. Please remain still while I take the instrument out of operation. You can relax. It feels.
It's also like all this questioning, all this talking for like a 2-second test, you know?
Yeah. I don't think that these tests are very accurate because, you know, they only check your blood pressure, your heart rate, and if you're sweating, and they only suspect that those things happen when you lie. They can't even prove it, that you actually, your heart rate goes up or your pulse goes up or you start sweating when you actually lie. It's all it does is give them a way to get him to admit his guilt, really, in my opinion.
Yeah, probably.
This is the last time the polygrapher will have any correspondence with Chris before the real test begins. She gives him an initial compliment in a reassuring tone.
You did great. You remembered to lie and everything. That was awesome.
This momentary boost in his confidence is then abruptly ripped away as he receives the following information.
So you obviously are a really bad liar. Have people told you that before? Like the second you tell a lie, like they can tell like on your face. But
I think a lot of it is like psychological tactics too, you know?
Yeah. I mean, has anybody said if he's like actually a sociopath or something, or just because, you know, if he is, he's not very good at lying, you know? And
yeah, he's been, a lot of people have speculated what he is, but there has not been any doctor that has actually treated him or, you know, evaluated him. Nobody's come out to say anything. So I can't say. I you know, having a degree in psych social, I won't even say what, you know, I can say what I suspect he has, but, and, you know, narcissist gets thrown around, sociopath gets thrown around. So all those words.
I mean, a sociopath basically just doesn't regret, right? That's their big thing. They don't have that consciousness. It doesn't, I guess, necessarily mean you're going to be good at portraying a lie. So maybe he is. I don't know. I've wondered this a lot. Like, you know, helps me to understand things when I understand, you know,
the diagnosis.
Yeah, I do. You know, I just want to know. The more I know, then the better I can make sense of things and, you know, help myself watch out for those things. You know, if his kids went to a play date, you know, they could have been playing with my kids. I mean, this guy looks just like, you know, an average guy from the suburbs, you know? I mean, he dresses like one. He looks like one. He doesn't look scary like some serial killers out there, you know, other murderers. He just looks like a regular guy.
I think that's why they called him the guy next door, the American Family or something like that.
Yeah, I think that's why I'm so interested in this case particularly, is because he just seems so normal, in pictures anyway. And I've got a 5-year-old and a 7-year-old, and they go on play dates all the time. I just hope that their friend's dad isn't like this guy's.
That's all you can do is hope, right? Jeez.
I know.
So, going on, Tammy Lee talks about Chris Watts' hand signals during interrogation led agents to believe he had maybe put his hands around her throat. And Chris Watts committed a heinous crime against his family, unaliving both his pregnant wife and their children. But a clip has resurfaced showing how Chris's body language during his interrogation interview led an agent to believe he had put his hands around his wife's neck. The tale of the despicable acts, which happened back in August of 2018, were turned into a Netflix documentary. Oh yeah, that's what it was. American Murder, The Family Next Door. He's like the guy next door. Uses raw firsthand footage of police interviews. A Reddit user shared a clip of Agent Tammy Lee on the Chris Watts subreddit, who said that Watts made a lot of movements towards his neck area during the interrogation. The footage shows Tammy, who was part of the Colorado Bureau of Investigation, saying Chris, while he was talking to Special Agent Coder, made a lot of movements towards his neck area. The footage then shows a series of clips of Chris moving his hands towards his neck, resting his left arm against the left side of his throat in various different positions while answering the questions of the special agent. Tammy continues by adding, Special Agent Coder actually came out of the room and said he may have put his hands around her neck. The documentary sparked outrage among viewers after they watched in disbelief as Chris blatantly lied about his wife taking off with the kids when it was him who, in fact, ended their lives. Chris, an oil field operator, did the unthinkable. Not only did he unalive Shanann, who was pregnant with his third baby at the time, but he also smothered their 2 children, Bella, age 4, and Celeste, age 3. Most shocking of all, Chris decided to hide the 2 young bodies in an oil tank in the middle of the field. And I wanted to point this out because I saw that on Watts the Obsession, she takes that and she points out what Tammy Lee said, but also then goes to point out that Miss NK does a lot of hand movements too.
If she knows Shanann's name. Now, this shady empanada has managed to get through hours of interview without saying Shanann's name. Agent Kobach has to ask her again, specifically, can you say her name? The first time she says Shanann's name, look at what she does with her hands.
Let's go back to North Carolina.
Okay.
He went to North Carolina and he was trying to rehab his marriage with his wife.
He said.
Do you know her name at this point?
Yeah.
Okay. Are you okay saying her name?
It's Shanann.
All right.
Look at those hands.
Yeah.
Okay. Are you okay saying her name?
It's Shanann.
All right. And
it's Shanann.
All right.
Sorry, I just needed to take a detour down that road to show you that I thought that was so interesting. Hold on. I thought that was so interesting.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of studies on body language, and I think it's you can read a person better just off their body language than you can through a lie detector test. And whenever I watch those interviews with her talking, like, she's very good at saying what needs to be said instead of I think she's more involved than anybody even knows, and will probably never know. She at least knew about it, and is what I think, at the very
Yeah.
least.
So I'm pretty sure this is going to have to be a two-parter, but let's go into the next part and watch a little bit of it so that people can kind of get an idea, because Tammy Lee continues to go on. And Jay is for Justice did a live where she talks about Tammy Lee calling Carter, who was one of Chris Watts's cellmates. And for some reason, she's asking about the garbage disposal. The garbage disposal was never brought up in anything, was it?
I have not heard anything about a garbage disposal.
Yeah. So why is she asking about a garbage disposal? You guys, if you could give this live a thumbs up, helps us go out onto the algorithm party out there, bring more people back to the party. It's just a free way to help my channel out, and it's really appreciated. And if you want to go a little extra, we also do super chat, super stickers, and we also are on Venmo and PayPal at parawomenradio@gmail.com.
And she says, I didn't watch TV because I had my grandchildren. I knew something was wrong when Jamie and Robert came to the house. That's her daughter and her husband. So Ronnie had called his daughter and asked her to go over to the house to be with Cindy when the news was given to her.
I didn't have it queued up at the right spot, but what she's talking about right now is what Cindy was doing when the news came to her. The mother of Chris Watts.
Right. Because she loved those grandchildren. I mean, she loved those babies. So her friend took the kids and then they came over and told me they were all dead. This is from Cindy. I fell to the floor. My legs gave out. So that was what was going on, on their end. And it's just an utter shame that this went down the way that it went down.
It is.
Bella Blonde says she believes David Carter. He had nothing to lose.
He didn't.
He didn't. And he wasn't out looking for fame. He didn't run right to the media. He went to her.
And I remember when he was making several calls. He was calling quite often. He wasn't just calling once.
All right, let's continue listening. So we were at that awkward silence, right?
Yeah.
Where she says, why did he tell you this? And he had like a legit answer. Like, we talk about the church. We talk about the Bible. We talk about forgiveness. I asked him what was going on. I told him I wouldn't judge him. I mean, I don't know. Could Chris have opened up to this guy? Possibly.
And when did he tell you this? In 2018 or this last time?
This last time whenever I went there.
Oh, and you said September to February of what years?
September 2020 to 2021. I just got off February.
Okay, so there you go, Heather. September of 2020 to February of 2021. He was in with Chris, and that was the time when Chris said this.
Okay, so those were the dates that he was
Heather?
in with Chris.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean
Watts.
to cut you off.
Oh, no, I heard it that time. I just missed it before.
So what is that? I mean, does that change things for you? That it was like just as early as 2021?
Not really. I would say if it was like when he was first incarcerated, then yeah, that might change my mind because he did give a lot of different stories to a lot of different people at that time. But now that it's further on, I don't think he quite does that anymore. But I mean, I don't talk to the guy, so
Yeah, I mean, you definitely didn't hear this all over YouTube. I mean, I never heard it. I don't know if it's even on YouTube.
I've heard other calls from him before on YouTube.
I've never heard these calls.
No, not
That's what I'm talking about.
I've never heard these either, and we'll put the link down. This is like a huge, like 4 hour long. I think she separated it into 1 hour segments or something, or 30-minute segments.
So I'm saying, like, the legitimacy, it makes me believe it more.
Yep.
Look at a lot of people have not. Leo's never heard of it.
Which is messed up. Why wasn't it in the news that this guy was coming forward saying, you know, after all this time, like at this point, Chris thinks he's in there forever. He's not getting out. Everything's done. He can't flee. Why not tell the truth? Why not open up to somebody and get, you know, unload your heart and say, this is what happened? Why not? And I believe they 100% protected NK's rights more than Chris's or his family's rights. They blasted this on the news before his family could even have a minute to process what had happened. It wasn't only the Ruseks that lost these babies. It was the Watts as well. And they didn't give them 1 second. But damn, they covered her up, changed her name, and she'd be gone.
Right?
Nothing.
Yeah. New identity. I mean, that's really unheard of. Really unheard of. I mean, Amber Fry didn't get a new identity.
No. And her phone pinging that morning. I'm sorry. I can't get past that. I don't.
Oh, neither can I. Neither can I. I can't get past that either. Okay, so let's keep listening.
Okay. And you were like, did you share a room with him, or how did that work?
I was actually on the same unit with him whenever he got there because he was being protected and I was on the psychiatric unit. So they kept all of us on the same unit together.
And what is compelling you to tell us this now?
Because I didn't want to come forward because I'm afraid for my safety, but I also wanted justice for them to get and some man. I didn't want. I think that whoever else involved needs to be.
Yeah, for sure. Did he give you any details about how it happened?
He said that Nikki mothered the girls and he choked the man out, and he didn't want the baby. He didn't want Nico, and he was afraid that she was going to take the house, and that he would never see the kids. And they wanted to live together, so that's why he did. But I don't really, like, all I know is that he had choked Shanann and she murdered the girls.
Do you know if she helped do anything else as far as their disposal, or?
Yeah.
What? 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 Why is she asking him about the disposal?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm wrong. It's not the garbage disposal. It's the disposal.
What?
Of the body. I'm sorry, the disposal of the bodies.
I suspect Nikki was in on it, and I think that's why she got witness protection. I think that part of her agreement must have been like the police aren't going to divulge her involvement, and she gets to go. But that's probably what I mean, because it doesn't make sense that, you know, an ex-girlfriend of somebody who murdered somebody else is just going to get witness protection. There has to be something that she said that helped them enough to get her, you know, to disappear off the grid and, you know, still be able to have a life.
Yeah. Yeah. So you guys, if you want to listen to all of that interview, let me know and we can do that. But let's just kind of wrap it up with looking at what Tammy Lee is doing now. And she did speak last year at Chris Watts Investigators Speak at Family Violence Prevention Conference in Aberdeen. I tried to see if I could find like the presentation, but I couldn't. Hold on, baby.
I don't smoke in front of the family. I hide it because I'm ashamed.
It's not letting me fast forward.
Not only do you hide it from yourself, but you hide it from the people that love you. I'm going to kick this.
5:30. Good evening, everyone. I'm Brian Allen. I'm Sam Wright. In 2020, Netflix released a documentary called American Murder, The Family Next Door, that examines the shocking murder of Shanann Watts and her 2 children. The lead investigators of the case stopped at a conference in Aberdeen today to discuss how family violence can happen anywhere, even in smaller towns. Sarah Parkin with that story from our Aberdeen newsroom.
The 2022 Northeast South Dakota Family Violence Prevention Conference started today here at the Dakota Event Center in Aberdeen, and speakers included investigators from the 2018 Chris Watts case.
FBI Special Agent Graham Coder and Colorado Bureau of Investigation Field Agent Tammy Lee, who could not appear on film, spoke to the 200 attendees of the conference about their investigation that led to the arrest of Christopher Watts, who murdered his pregnant wife and 2 children. The murders occurred in Frederick, Colorado, which has a population half the size of Aberdeen's.
And what we want people to take away is that we do have family violence in our communities, and we want agencies to be aware of that and how we can work together and try to combat that.
Watts had no history of violence before the murders, and conference organizers say there's a lesson to be learned from that.
The Chris Watts case shows that we aren't dealing with somebody we can clearly identify as an abuser. These individuals are smart, they know how to manipulate, and they know how to get away with it. And so we have to train agencies on how to be able to read between the lines.
Attendees like Joni Larson say they learned from the investigators how to spot signs of family violence that might not be obvious.
Because I'm working with survivors and perpetrators, and being able to pick up on some of the nuances and in learning that there is no socioeconomic status that says this is going to happen. It can happen to anybody.
The Family Violence Prevention Conference continues tomorrow, and speakers include detectives, attorneys, therapists, and survivors. In Aberdeen, Sarah Parkin, Dakota News Now.
It actually sounds like a pretty cool conference.
Yeah.
And so to wrap it up, where is Tammy Lee now? With Chris Watts in prison, Tammy Lee revealed how much the case affected her. She stated that she felt disgusted at how Chris spoke about his family and was disturbed when Chris tried to accuse Shanann of unaliving the kids. She also mentioned that the case impacted her life as a mother and recounted how after the final interview, she came back home and broke down in tears. When Chris finally confessed to the murders and led to the investigators to the bodies, Tammy revealed that she felt sick and disgusted at the sight of the unalived bodies. She even spoke about how she believes that the murders were an evil act, much more horrible than can ever be imagined. I agree with that. While talking about Chris's cruelty and evilness, Tammy said, he didn't even cry for them. Like, I've cried more for them than he has. Who does that? So, what do you think?
I think secondary trauma is going to happen, especially for anybody who's involved in the case, that they had to hear all the, like, we as the public hear a lot of the details, but we don't hear all of the details because there's probably evidence that was, not, made public, and, they had to spend all this time talking with those people, and, I don't know. I kind of feel sorry for anybody that had to actually sit there and listen to it firsthand, especially in the beginning.
I think they did report that some of the responding officer, he had to retire because he had severe post-traumatic. The one that was walking around the house with them in the beginning.
Yeah. I mean, it's hard to think that you can suffer traumatic stress from, hearing somebody else's, story, but it really does happen. It's a real thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Anguish that I've caused your family. This is a travesty that I never thought could or would occur. Shanann, Belle, Celeste, and Nico are 4 beautiful souls that will live on forever in heaven and in our hearts. I know you must hate me for what I've done, and honestly, I would be surprised if you didn't.